play with music or a musical?
I would call it a play with music, with quite a lot of music, but I'm never trying to have them sing about their feelings, and the songs are never meant to really advance the plot. They're meant to create emotional context, locational context, energy, as opposed to we have to sing about the fact that I'm going to run away from home. We don't really do that.
Yeah, the story starts out with two gentlemen who, in our story and in the original Shakespeare, are Valentine and Proteus, who, most of you know our story, are two boys in a small town who both eventually, throughout the course of the story, decide to leave and go off to the big city. Valentine goes first in an effort to sort of find himself, and when he does go, our Valentine is a poet and a sort of dreamer. Goes to the city, finds love, loses love, and is banished from the city. And then the character sort of has to reconcile what that all means. And it's been interesting. I just left Chicago to a new place, which is a big city. So I feel like I'm going on the same trajectory as my character. And
have you fallen in love?
Not yet. He knows anybody.
He's young, he's a college grad, he's employed. And then tell us about kind of the bigger story of the band as well.
Right, so at the most basic level, the Verona Project is the name of our band. There are 8 of us, and we all play lots of instruments. To name a few, there will be drums, guitars, piano, and then accordion, something called a theremin, which if you've ever seen a sci-fi movie from the 50s, is the, yeah, exactly, sort of play with sound waves. There's harmonica, clarinet, alto saxophone, cello, xylophone, French horn. We use almost everything, and the great thing is, I think all of us play about, at minimum, 4 instruments each throughout the course of the evening, so it's a big musical adventure. Some of us are learning new instruments, or Elena's our drummer, and she is incredible. And when was the last time you played drums?
Before you were born.
Our band came together and decided to tell this story that we created based on Two Gentlemen of Verona, which is sort of set in a different magical world, where lots of things are similar to our world, but also different. Time can stop and tell you that it's stopping. People can sort of love whoever they like. Valentine falls in love with Silvio, and nobody really cares that it's 2 guys. And also there's, songs happening left and right, which, as much as I think we would all like to happen in our world, doesn't happen quite as often as we would want. So.
I feel like there is this strong, role of parental guidance, and I feel as though a big part of my role is that I'm moving characters towards finding themselves and becoming who they want to be. And also Silvio's mother she's actually passed away, and so I'm representing kind of the other-worldly characters, and because in our world that we've created, both the dead and the living are very present and are driving action forward.
We all actually play ourselves. So my first character is Harold, which actually has been really hard to do. And I never would have thought that, but like getting up and playing yourself, I'm like, well, how do I play myself? So there's been a lot of soul searching going on. So the reason we play ourselves is because there's a lot of narration that goes on, kind of fill you all in on what's going on, give a little backstory and so on.
I get to be a little bit of comic relief, which is so fun. The characters really funnily, beautifully crafted by Amanda in that there's a little more than just, this is a funny character and, whatever. All of the characters have lovely little nuggets of moments that, some of which I think are maybe Shakespeare-based and some of which are Amanda-based and blend beautifully. So I'm very lucky to get to play a slightly
Well, when I was first working on the adaptation, I really do love the lovers in Two Gentlemen. I think that they're all really interesting characters. And I loved everything except for I really didn't love the way you had these two guys who were these best friends. I totally got that part. And then they did this interchangeable thing with their girlfriends, where they were like props, really. I mean, honestly, like in Shakespeare's Two Gentlemen of Verona, the main thrust of the play is the primacy of male friendship over romantic love. I had a hard time. It's not that I don't buy into that, but I honestly had a hard time with it. I was like, well, does it have to be about picking one over the other? And does it really have to be about saying, oh, I'll be your friend so you can have my girlfriend if you want her? It gets very tricky. And then you have these girls who basically have to do these Shakespeare speeches about, you know, well, I'm just as pretty as her. Why doesn't he like me anymore? And you just go, ew. So I looked at all sorts of different ways to resolve that, how to have these two boys who grow up as best friends. And then I was like, well, okay, what if they're whatever? So what if it's a boy and a girl who grow up as best friends? What if it's two girls who grow up as best friends? And I kind of looked at every permutation of how you could take two young people, one of them falls in love with somebody else, the other one feels a little shut out of that friendship and goes off to find their own way in the world, finds their own person to fall in love with. Something goes wrong over here, one of those people goes up here and then goes, oh, that person seems to be more in love than me. I want what they have. With all women, with all men, with I looked at it every which way. And the way that really clicked for me was to say that you had Proteus and Valentine, two young men. Proteus falls in love with Julia, who in this is conceived as the only girl in this, literally the only girl who has been born in this town in the last 100 years. And he falls for her, and she falls for him, but they don't really know each other all that well yet. Valentine goes away and falls in love with this young man, Silvio, who is in love with him, and everything would be fine, except for Silvio is supposed to get married to Thuria. And that's not because his father doesn't really believe that boys can be with boys. His father's fine with that. It has more to do with him not wanting his son to actually be in love, because if you are actually in love, the pain you will feel when you lose that love will be too much to bear. So anyway, so Proteus goes off and sees his friend in love with this guy, and Proteus does this moment that I find my college students do all the time, of either gender, where they go, oh, what if that's what I want? What if I want someone who is me, not the opposite gender of me, but me? Is that what I want? Should I try that? I'm going to try that. That's not always what you should do at the end of the day with your relationships, but I see a lot of people do that as part of their journey toward figuring out who they want to be. And I think that that's what Proteus does. And I think that it actually helps us ride with him through that jumping from one partner to another just a little bit better. Because he's not only trying something, a new person, but something really different. And I think we can understand that better than I put away this strawberry for this strawberry. I don't know. I just bought strawberries today. That's what you know, warm, audience welcoming, like friendly, broad appeal. You talk. That's what artistic directors usually ask for, anyway. So, well, I'll think. You think. We went back and forth, and we kept circling back around to Two Gentlemen of Verona, and he said, well, why don't we make it a musical? And I said, well, no, because there is one, and we don't have enough time. Like, to do a musical, like an integrated musical, like a musical, you need more time. And they're too expensive, and it's not worth it. And I said, and he said, okay, well, what about, like, and I said, look, if you don't need it to be Shakespeare-y, because you have two, like, Shakespeares that are going to be totally Shakespeare-y, and I tend to be an aggressive cutter reorganizer anyway, why don't I just do Two Gentlemen of Verona, but we'll kind of call it something else so everybody understands that it's not going to be sequenced like the Shakespeare play. And I'll write a lot of music for it, because I really like to write music. And how about that? And he was like, cool. love with what they need you to do at their theater. That's really what it's like for a director. The artistic director needs a certain kind of show, and then you figure out how to want to do it. And I'm actually really good at that. But to suddenly have somebody say, yes, do your idea. It's just like, oh my gosh, okay, cool. And there's such little risk-taking that now goes on in the American theater that to first have an institution like Cal Shakes that believes in producing new work, you should be really proud to be affiliated with this place. And I'm really honored to be a part of it. I work a lot of places nationally. Not a lot of places do this. You should know that. You're part of a special place. And that we care. Hopefully you can come and care. And I would even say, like, recognize that we just want you to show up and we want to tell you a story.